Hello everyone, it's Jean, Inky Studio. Welcome, welcome. I'm happy to see you come back, and welcome if you're here for the first time. Today I'm going to be putting together a miniature, easy, no-sew type of journal that has sort of an album shape to it. In other words, it's a little landscape kind of size to it. But I do want to show you the general basic construction of how this journal will go. So the first thing I did is I got the covers, and this is a file folder that's been tea stained, and it's a scrap that I had. A heavyweight cardstock would work well as well, or a cereal box, a food box that you want to cut to shape and then cover it with something. You know, I think the 65 weight might be a little on the thin side for the cardstock. You might want to double it. Just that file folder type of weight to it and such. So that's what I started with, and I believe the dimensions on this one is 6.5 by 4.5. So it's 6.5 by 4.5. And what you want to do is you want to think about the basic size of your journal, but you need to add like 3/4 of an inch to one side of it, to the left side of it. And that's going to be your spine. And so this area in here is going to be the actual working area of the journal. And so once you've cut that, you'll want to score 3/4 of an inch and fold it. Now this happens to be on the spine of the file folder. I don't know if you can see where they, at the factory, they score it already. Just happens to be that way. You don't have to have it there exactly. But you do want to score about 3/4 of an inch and on both the covers. So let me just tick that a little bit here quickly so I don't have to measure it. And basically, if you just line it up there and just keep going over and over that area to get the score going, you have to go a few more times on cardstock than you would on paper. You could also use a kitchen butter knife, and not the serrated edge but the other edge, and you could also use that if you don't have a stylus. And then we'll just fold it and get that fold going. So now you have that fold, and that is going to be the spine area. Now every page, I went ahead and did this ahead of time, but I have my pages, and when you measure for your pages, you have to include your 3/4 of an inch. And you'll decide, you know, how you want them to stick out, not stick out, or whatever. So I have some envelopes here, and these are reproduction envelopes, digitals. This is from Caroline's Craft Tree. I'll link her shop down below, and you just cut out and assemble your envelope, and they look pretty good. They look pretty authentic. And also I just, you know, tea stained a couple of my own envelopes, so I have a little variety of that going there. Now, like I mentioned with the paper, 3/4 an inch on the side is going to be taken up into the spine. And when you're working with an envelope, then you kind of run into a situation where if I were to do that, let me put it on the side, if I were to do that and put it into the spine here, 3/4 of an inch, then I've got this where, you know, I can cut this and lift up the flap, but it looks uneven, you know, and it also is a different size than a regular envelope. So if you have something you want to put in there that needs an envelope size piece of ephemera or whatever, it's going to be cut short. So to kind of correct that problem, this is what I am going to do. Is I took 2 pieces of paper, and it could be any kind of paper you like, and I cut them about 2 inches wide, and of course the height of my envelope. On this one, I'm going to add a little bit of decorative punch to it, just to make it kind of fun. I'm going to glue about a 1/2 inch, about that. I think that's all that's really necessary, and I'm going to place it about a 1/2 inch onto the envelope. like that. If you want it to be perfect, you can also measure to make sure you've got a perfect section done here, but I think you can eye it up. And so that's on the front of the envelope. Then on the back of the envelope, I'm going to make sure that I open the flap up, and I'm going to take my other piece of paper and I'm going to glue that about a 1/2 inch onto the envelope back. About a 1/2 inch there. Okay. Now, don't worry about these. They're not matching, but don't worry about it. With 2 inches, you have plenty of room to work with. And then I'm going to just trim off here a little bit to kind of match the curve of the envelope up in that section there. Now that we have that, I'm going to glue these two pieces together just across the top and across the bottom, like so. And I'm going to go ahead and retrim this here just to get rid of that white. Okay. Now once you have that going, we're going to fold along the edge. We're folding on the edge of the envelope. That's where I'm folding. Just enough so that I can kind of see a crease there and kind of, know where that edge is at. Best to fold when your glue is dry, not wet like mine is. And so now you can see that the seam, we can see the edge of the envelope right there. You want to make sure the edge of the envelope is not inside that spine area. So when we go to cut this off and size it to where we need it, we're going to lay it down and make sure that here's the bend of my spine. I'm making sure the bend of my envelope is not inside that spine area. It's kind of on the outside. Okay, so this is the bend of my envelope. This is the edge, the bend of my journal or my cover. This is the bend of my envelope. So I want to make sure it lines up that way. Now in this case, it's going to be longer than my cover, but that's okay. I am going to, do stuff with that. So, maybe in the future, if you want to make sure that your envelopes are inside the cover, you may want to measure the envelopes you're using. I kind of like printed these out after I cut everything up, but I'm going to work with that. It'll be okay for what design I'm doing. And once you've got that, now you can cut that excess off, and now you know that it will fit in there as it should. And when you have that spine area closed up, you still have a working envelope that is a full envelope for you. So that's how I am putting my envelopes inside. Another thing that I wanted to do was I'm going to put in some vintage postcards, and I didn't want to attach anything to the postcard. I wanted to be able to take the postcard out and look at it. So I want to make a pocket, make like a side entry pocket for my journal. And again, always got to include your 3/4 of an inch, and I actually am going to include a little bit more. I'm going to go up to 1 inch here so that I can cut and trim it off when I get it all in there. And then this side here, we'll trim this off. It'll be 8.5 inches. But you want 1/4 of an inch more here up on top. I don't know, that wasn't the best explanation, but I think you get my drift. And the reason for that is that, well, you could just, of course, glue the top, and that would make your pocket, and that's all fine. I don't particularly like that method. I don't think it looks as neat as it could, and it does kind of mess with how large your ephemera can be, because if I were just to glue this together, maybe I wouldn't get a straight line, and maybe this would be a little bigger, and I don't know. I just find it just looks nicer. So I'm going to cut off 1/4 of an inch here on this side, on just one of the sides. I'm going to cut that 1/4 of an inch off. And then on this side, I'm going to fold it over. Just like so. I'm going to burnish it there. Now I'm going to glue that closed. Just like that. For me personally, feel that it also leaves this little bit of a gap here when you get done. Okay, it's not so tight together. And it just makes it a little easier to flip things in and out. Okay, they just slide so much nicer in my opinion. So that's why I like to make, pockets like that. And that's what I'm done here. And of course, we will align it up again. And I am going to probably put that, I might even make that pocket inside. So by making this a little bit wider, or by cutting things a little bit wider, it gives you options later on, because you might decide, well, I don't think I want it all the way. I think I want it to be more like this, or I only want this section, or something of that nature. So if I'm going to be putting this in, I am probably going to need all of the most of the envelope, but I also want to make it short enough to where part of this is peeking out a little bit. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter. All right, so that will then attach here, and I might just go ahead and glue this closed here just a little bit on that one side so it stays flat when I go to put it in. And so yeah, so now this much will be in the spine, and then this will sit inside, and a little bit of the postcard will stick out, and then you'll be able to know something's in there. But sizing is up to you, but that is just the method of the pockets that I'm going to be putting in here. And let's see if I can give you another tip before we go on to the assembly. Another thing that I'm going to be doing in this journal is I've got some pieces of cardstock, and these were scraps as well. This is a nice scrappy type of little project. And these are little scraps that are little strips that I'm going to be putting inside the journal. And with these then, these will go in the journal, I am going to use these to attach things to. So you have a piece of ephemera you want to staple here to it, tickets or any kind of little papers, or you can also use this to clip on a tag. If you have a piece of ephemera you want to put in there, you can just use a paper clip to attach it, and then the person can take that ephemera out and put it back in. You can kind of use this as a base for different things like that. All right, now we're going to prepare the cover, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in 2 eyelets on each cover. And I have went in about 3/4 of an inch from top and bottom to measure out to my eyelets, and we're just going to put some holes in here. And it's really easy here with these with this part of the file folder that has the 3 score lines in it, because I can put it right in the middle. So here is the holes on the cover, and then I'm going to go ahead and put holes here in the back cover so that they match up, just like so. Now the size of your hole will matter because of the whatever you're using to put this together. So I am using a 1/4 of an inch wide ribbon, and this is what I'll be stringing in here to put everything together. You could use twine, you could use whatever you want to use, but just be sure that your hole is going to be sufficiently large enough for your binding, or vice versa. You might have to use a larger eyelet if you want to use a heavy fabric type of a tie in here, but I think probably for most things, a standard 1/4 of an inch eyelet is probably going to work just fine for you. So we will just get in here and we will start putting our eyelets in. Once we have our holes inside, make sure they match up well, and they do. We're going to have to put holes into our papers. And I've arranged the papers the way I want them to appear in my journal. And therefore I'm going to take the cover and get my pencil. I'm going to lay down the cover on top, and I'm going to start going through and marking the holes. And I'm going to do this for each page, each piece of paper in my journal. Now, some people have hole punches that they can arrange where the holes punch, and that's really cool. But if you don't, then you're going to have to do this a few times at a time. Now, really, I guess I really could do 2 pages at once. So let's just do 2 pages. I probably can poke through a couple of pages. Kind of depends, though, on how strong your hands are. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to mark where I'm going to then individually go through and start punching holes in that particular place. I can see this hole punch is starting to get not as sharp as it used to be, so I'm going to try and punch out on tin foil a little bit to sharpen it up. But you'll be punching out your holes all the way through in all the papers. I have clipped them together to kind of help keep them from shifting too much. All right, my holes are all punched into my papers. If you find that they don't line up really well, you can take your awl or something long and pointy, your stylus or whatever that will fit in there, and just sort of align them up like that. And make sure, though, you put back your clip, because otherwise they'll be getting out of line again. So now we're going to add the covers to each side here and line them up, making sure that they're in there pretty matching up there. And we're going to put on our clip over the whole thing like so it doesn't get out of shape there. Now I'm going to take my ribbon, and it will be really difficult to put through something soft like this. Obviously, string or whatever you got going will be a little on the difficult side. If you have a large tapestry needle that has a big eye in it, you can thread your ribbon through that and use that. But if you don't, you can take a piece of tape. I have just a piece of cellophane tape here, and I'm going to lay my ribbon down like so. Now I'm going to fold that ribbon in half. Doesn't have to be a perfect half, but just fold it over so it's kind of small there. And I'm going to start wrapping my tape around it. And as I wrap it around that, I'm creating like a little bit of a point up here. So it's sort of like a shoelace where you've got the fabric and then there's that hard end so that you can put it through the eyelets. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And so you can see I have this little bit of a point. See if you can see that little point on the end there. And I'm just going to take off the excess. Don't need that much tape on there. Alrighty. So now you've got sort of like a needle to kind of go through your eyelets with. I did both sides. Now, I don't think there's any right way of doing this. I'm just going to show you the way I'm doing it. You may find another way you like better, and that's perfectly fine. The goal, though, is just to make sure that between each hole, there's at least one strip of ribbon there. And you might have to kind of get in and do this. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to go in about halfway there. I'm going to come out one of the other eyelets here. Oops. I'm going to go back into this hole here in the middle. And this way I know that middle hole is a little stubborn, isn't it? There we go. So I know that I have a section between that and that. I'm going to tighten it up really tight here. Okay, so I'm pulling on that. I'm going to go through this area here. Of course, the more you thread, the more your tape breaks down. But anyways, I'm getting caught on this clip. I should put these little clips down. It won't be so bad. There we go. All right. I'm going to come back down to this one, and I'm pulling it tight. And now I can put a bow right here. If you're using string, you might even want to go through twice. Don't know if I could do twice with a ribbon, but you may want to follow that pattern two times. Or maybe one will work. And so we tie a tight bow there. Oh, excuse me, I had a frog in my throat. I would suggest that you put glue there on the knot just to secure it well so it doesn't come out. And voila, so now you have your little album here, right? So with the 3, it seemed to work really well. The 2 was just not quite firm enough of a hold there. And that is the little album. Really easy peasy to put together. You know, even though it's a little tedious punching the holes and that type of stuff, that will take a little bit of time. But I'm going to decorate this and get this all going. Now, just for a heads up, remember that I have a giveaway going on. I'm going to link down below the place where you need to enter. You need to enter on this video that I've linked, and I've labeled it giveaway. You need to go there. Don't enter it on this particular video, because I'm going to go back to the one that I did previously to pick the winners. So just click on the link in the description box. If you can't find the description box, and I know sometimes if you're not used to looking for them, they're hard to find, but there's a little word that says more, M-O-R-E, down below. Just below the description of this video and everything, it says more. So if you click on that, then you'll get all the links and everything for it. So just wanted to give you that, and the drawing is going to be July 9th. So if you are viewing this video after the 9th, then you know it's already closed and we're already done with the giveaway. So anyhow, thank you so much for viewing. I hope this kind of gives you some ideas what you might want to do the next time you do a project. And please subscribe, and you will find out. We'll find out how I end up decorating and what I end up putting into this little journal. We'll talk to you later. Bye.